there's so many things to worry about, and A Song of Ice and Fire adaptations, top of the list. Just right up top.
That is number one thing I'm
Number
worried
one.
about. Yeah. In all of life.
Number 2, the Democratic Republic. But number 1,
Right.
A Song of Ice and Fire adaptation.
Right. Yeah. Tied for second is, the precipitous rise of fascism.
That's it's very close at first, but
yeah.
I just gotta know if they're gonna make, Baylor look Dornish. That these are the really important things that keep me up at night. That's what we gotta know.
I'm telling you, like, things that will get me to riot in the streets. The decline of our Democratic Republic. Baylor Breakspear having blonde hair.
Yeah, they really are. This is where my mind is currently.
Yeah. I will be outside a state house if Baylor Breakspear has blonde hair. This will mobilize the public. Maybe that's HBO's long game, is they're like, actually, we're going to save American democracy by pissing people off so hard that they hit the streets. I was so flabbergasted by the beginning of this book. In the light of reading the last one closely, reading the beginning of this book closely was so different from the first time I read it, where I was just like, George, you are such a menace. This man is like
such a menace. Oh, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk.
I'm like, this fucking bitch. I see you, George. I see what you're doing. I understand point of view bias. You've taught me. I know. I understand. I get it. Not everything is a dragon. I know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Pod of the Seven Kingdoms, a journey through the Duncan Egg novellas. We are officially back after a long time skip, which Duncan Egg also undergo, because we are going to be talking about the Sworn Sword in this episode and starting our reread. I am Baki Balboa.
I am Bilak, and we are here to overanalyze. Yes. We do not know how to podcast anymore. No. We are here to overanalyze this text. Back after pretty much a summer. We had a summer break, more or less.
Yeah. I think a nice break. We also got to fill in some guests in between. So if you haven't seen our episodes with Felly and Holly Bean, please check those out because they were very fun and wonderful guests, and it was wonderful chatting with them. And now that we're back to talk about the Sworn Sword, I guess we should probably start with, before we get into catching up, people can use this time to find out where we're reading to in this episode so that they can pause and read along with us. And then we can hop back in with life updates and all of the things that have been going on this summer.
Yes. So we are starting with the Sworn Sword. If you have this paperback version that is like all three of them, it's page 121. And we're going through page 132, right to the middle of the page where there's a break. It ends with, "That we will." And a very threatening man holding a shovel. So that is the first section that we're reading. And this might surprise you, but I have thoughts about this section. So
I have a single thought or two regarding this opening section. The Sworn Sword, I would say, is the least talked about novel, and yet the opening to this absolutely blew me away. That being said,
yes.
Be like, how was your summer?
I suffered this summer in the best of ways.
This is a loaded question, just so the audience is aware. This is a loaded question.
And some of you, if any of you follow me on various platforms, you may have noticed, like, hey, where the fuck did Bilak go? Bilak has a real big girl job.
I certainly was wondering.
Yeah, I have a real big girl job, unfortunately. Some of you may know I am an attorney. Specifically, I am a criminal trial attorney. And we very rarely go to trial because most things resolve pretty early on. But sometimes you do. And I had a worse thing happen, which is not that I went to trial, but that I went to almost trial, which means I prepped everything for trial. And it resolved the day before. And which was good for the client. It was a good resolution considering the facts of the case. It was like a very serious case. It resolved in a good way, like excellent resolution. But here I
And
am
discovery.
with my binders of prepped material, my like hundreds of chapters of cross-examination for like the witnesses and the victim, quote unquote victim, and the police officers, and like all of my shit ready. And it just poofed away. It just went.
Wait, this
gone.
was recent, the resolution.
Yeah.
Was it not?
Yeah. That one
Because
was,
we
yeah.
were talking and you were like,
And I was prepping a
basically
hearing for it.
stuff is
Yeah.
about to happen, and then you were like, suddenly stuff is not happening.
And then it didn't.
That
And
was
then
the
it didn't
whole
happen.
summer. I mean, that was like that
Yeah.
was
Yeah. No,
months.
trial prep takes a long time. I mean, these are I do first degree felony cases. So this was a shooting. Nobody's dead. Otherwise it would have been more interesting. But it takes a long time to prep, and you may have picked this up about me, but I'm a bit of a pain in the ass. So I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my trial prep, and everything has to be like perfect. So that's what I did for most of the summer. And then now I have one more case that's like theoretically trial bound, but like not till like next year. Like we have like a lot of stuff to work through. But I have a new attorney started with my office who I'm sort of training on this trial. And it's really cute because like it's like very cute to see like new baby lawyers like learning and like they doing stuff and they're like asking their questions. So I'm doing all the same kind of prep, but I'm teaching him. And it's kind of
Your
unfair for me to be like,
squire.
yeah, he's my squire.
Yeah.
Well, he's my squire, except this is like a 6.5 foot tall, 38-year-old ex-Marine who has like a wife and a mortgage and like a 5 o'clock shadow. But he's a
So
new
it's
baby
like
attorney.
so it's like if Egg was the knight and Dunk
Yes.
was the squire.
Exactly. And I'm like, he does like that. I'm like, oh, what a good job. And it's like, this is like a completely grown man who like doesn't need that kind of praise. But I'm like, you're doing so good. Excellent.
That's
so that's what I've been working on now. But so things have slowed down a bit, and I'm hoping to get back into. Obviously, we're doing this podcast. My other podcast with Gretchen, I expect will come back in the next few months, and I might make new appearances on TikTok again sometime soon. Fingers crossed. So that's what I've been doing. What have you been doing for the
summer? Well, personally, I'm excited that you're back, and I am excited to hopefully see more legal memes and lawyers arguing about the merits of such a meme in the comments. I have spent this summer, I guess it was quite all over the place in terms of work was very busy, home was very busy. My daughter is now 3. She's going to school. Oh
my goodness.
Which is really
She gonna start
weird.
paying rent soon? Jeez.
That's what I have asked. She hasn't started cutting checks yet.
Okay. All right,
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Passive income has always been my goal. So we'll no, I think it was a kind of busy summer work wise. We didn't have any sort of big vacations or anything like that. I think I may have talked briefly about I went to Portland, Maine. That was a lot of fun. And I've also been making a lot of TikToks.
Yes. Oh my God, your Final Fantasy content I love, adore. Anyone watching this podcast that hasn't seen Phil's TikToks on the Final Fantasy stuff. What a great series to analyze, truly. Like dense games.
Crazy dense, lots of lore, very, sort of in line with the hyperfixations that I clearly have.
It's all that Tylenol. You gotta stop with that Tylenol.
Exactly. I had way too much Tylenol. Or my mom had too much Tylenol. I'm not clear. Like, does Tylenol cause? I don't know. It's whatever you want. But I do know it's a woman's fault. It's not my fault.
Yes,
that's it.
Obviously, so, that's always true. That's always the case. So, you don't even have to say that. That's just the assumption.
So I made a random Final Fantasy TikTok like sometime in the spring, I feel like. And then it sort of did that thing that TikTok sometimes do where it does fine and then it just goes away and it is not like you're like, well, that's it. And then it suddenly resurfaced. And I don't know what happened with the algorithm or whatever, but it was one of those things where like all of a sudden a bunch of people were liking that video again. And I was like, oh, Final Fantasy TikTok like got a hold of this or something like that. And among the likes was Bowen Yang, like his verified TikTok account. And I was like, it was the first time that in all of my TikToking, I bragged about something to my sisters because I have two younger sisters. And I can't do something cool in their eyes to save my life.
Yeah,
but Bowen Yang, the verified blue check account, liking a TikTok of mine, oh man, the amount of street cred that I gained was more than the cumulative 36 years of street cred I had gained with them this whole time. They, it was the first thing I could genuinely brag about. And so I started making Final Fantasy videos because I was like, oh, there's like an audience here. I like talking about Final Fantasy. It was like genuinely formative experiences for me growing up. So yeah, I'll talk about it. And it's done well. And it is such a cool, it is really such a cool series because the politics of it are just like so good. Like throughout. And it made me realize, and this is why I want to, I need to go on Las Culturistas to spread the good word of this.
Yes.
Because there's been an argument, and I was having this conversation with my wife yesterday. There's been an argument for, however long, ever since basically the election, of like, the left needs a Joe Rogan, right? Like, we need a podcast that's as popular with young men as Joe Rogan. And I have a counterpoint, which is we need video games with a bunch of hot people that critique capitalism and imperialism. We just need to run back classic Final Fantasy because I was radicalized by hot people telling me that corporations and the government are actually your enemy. Like, these are the people oppressing you. And it was such a light bulb moment of actually, we just need Final Fantasy. Like, we just need twinks and really hot girls to preach good politics to us. It has nothing to do with like, we don't need a Joe Rogan. We need Tifa Lockhart.
We need fucking Zidane. What does that tail do? I want to know.
Exactly what that tail do. We need, these are the people that we need Lulu. Final Fantasy X.
Lulu, yes.
Riku.
Talk about formative experiences.
These are the people that we need to reshape our politics.
She was the original big titty goth girlfriend.
Exactly.
Do
you think that all of these like these alt-right pipeline kids would be down that pipeline if they had just seen what Final Fantasy had to offer?
No, I actually think like we're kind of doing a bit, but also like quite seriously, you make an excellent
I'm being dead serious. Like, I don't think Gooner culture would have been co-opted into, hey, actually you're left wing.
But I think this is actually a really good point, and I hate to tie everything to The Last of Us, but I have a brain worm and I can't help it. When I like spend all of this time on the internet deeply critiquing The Last of Us 1 and 2, the games and the show, and I get the response from people that like, it's just a video game. I'm like, that's not an excuse. Video games are an excellent form of storytelling. In fact, they're a very unique form of storytelling because it's so easy to immerse your player. Right. It's not like with reading or watching TV, you kind of have to like work to get someone into the world, but like a video game literally puts you in the actual shoes of the person immediately. And it's like, that's why storytelling matters in those circumstances. And it matters if your story like makes fucking sense and like has a message, Yeah. So I completely agree. I mean, I recently replayed a game from the GameCube, Beyond Good and Evil. Did you ever play that as a kid?
Yes.
That I was replaying that and I'm like, this is what radicalized me. The whole game. The whole
It's
game. There's literally like a little song they sing in the background that goes propaganda, and I'm like,
yeah. No,
I'm like,
it's
hold up.
it is crazy like how I realized, oh my God, like these games are part of the reason that I think the way that I do.
Hmm.
And it's easy to say that there are genuine life experiences that, shaped my worldview. And that is
Yeah, of
absolutely
course.
true. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
interactions with real people and meeting people and expanding my worldview, that is like what actually put me where I am. And if you look at the messages that are present in these games or this media or all of that stuff, and that was essentially the initial premise of the whole series, was people saying it's not that deep.
yeah.
And like
It
media
is that
is
deep.
always that deep. And that is why we're going to read the Duncan Egg novellas 10 pages at a time, because this
Yes,
shit is literally
yes.
that deep.
And you
And
can. Mhm.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and you can tell when people don't. I think when audiences don't pay enough attention or like give a piece of media the kind of attention it deserves, you get some of the commentary that I'm sure we'll talk about today in terms of like people not understanding like point of view bias, for example. And or like some of the commentary we got off of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon and stuff like that, where like it's just
Sure.
people, you know, not really thinking critically about the media. And I think that's not necessarily the audience's fault. There's a lot of media that invites you not to think critically about it. And
Right.
so but that's like one of the things we're doing certainly is looking at this author George R. R. Martin who desperately wants you to think hard. He just wants you to think hard, and some of it he puts on the page so obviously, and I'm like, "George, I'm there. I'm there,
Mhm.
sweetie. I'm following it."
You
But
know we'll be there.
I know there are people that aren't. So, it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. He just wants you to think really hard, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. These in the interest of beginning our discussion of these opening 10 pages,
Yes.
I previewed it a little bit before we started talking about ourselves. The Sworn Sword as a book is
Mhm,
not talked about as much as either the Hedge Knight or the Mystery Knight, by virtue
mhm,
of, I think it's because of the bookend sort of thing of like the first one
mhm,
I read is very impactful, the last one I read is very impactful, and there's one in the middle.
mhm.
And what's interesting to me is how, when reading this back and rereading these first 10 pages with a very critical eye and looking for all of these things, how from the first word, George R. R. Martin is absolutely bashing us over the head with his themes. Like it
Yes.
just, he wastes no time.
Exactly, he said, "Think critically, damn it," and he hit us with the book. Yeah.
So we skipped ahead briefly in terms of the timeline of the story. So we are 2 years on from the events
Mhm.
of the Hedge Knight, essentially, like give or take,
Yeah.
a little bit. But it's essentially 2 years in the future. Where do we find our lads, big
Our
lad and
our
little lad?
Our big and little lad, as they are known, he is known as Dunk the Big Lad. Uh, they are at the crossroads or a crossroads. I'm not sure if they're the crossroads.
No,
Um,
not the crossroads.
the
Whoa,
crossroads,
not the inn at the crossroads.
not the end of the
Anyways.
cross. There's a lot of crossroads. So wouldn't you know they're at a crossroads? I wonder if anything special is meant by that. And our boy Egg is 2 years older now, so he's 10. He had been 8 when you add 2 to 8. It's 10. I've learned that. And they come across what we would call a gibbet cage, but that they just call it an iron cage here. So it's a
Mhm.
cage that has 2 corpses in it, 2 very well rotted corpses. 2 corpses that are just like bloated with themes and meaning and metaphor. And I just like, I'm like,
This
George, you got to stop. I can't do it, George.
This is so wild because I didn't even remember this.
Mhm,
And this time reading it, I was like, oh my God, the whole story is happening in them observing these 2 corpses. Like the whole series is happening in
mhm.
them observing these 2 corpses in the cage.
Yep.
Um, Dunk
Uh,
observe like basically Egg asks like who do you think they were?
mhm.
Which is kind of a crazy thing for a royal person to even ask. Like Just
Yeah.
now that we know who Egg is, like that's kind of a crazy
Mhm.
thing. Like, because he would know that people get put to death all the time.
Yeah.
And so he asks the question of who they are.
Mhm.
And Dunk says, like, oh, robbers or
Mhm.
rapers or whoever, I'm
Mhm.
sure they like basically deserve to die. So he says, robbers, Dunk said, mounted atop Thunder. He was much closer to the dead men.
Oh,
And
there
I'm
it
just
is.
like, and I'm like, I'm thinking like, oh my God, right out the gate, I
Mhm.
am much closer to them. Like, I am closer to these criminals than
Mhm.
the noble class, the, like the ruling class, all that sort of stuff. Like, he's literally saying Dunk was closer to them because he's on top of the horse, but he is
Mhm.
closer to them in class
Yes.
and status and all that stuff. He is closer to them than he is to the lords. Anyways, that was my whole
Yes.
thing. I can't believe I dragged that out as long. I was like, I know it's in
It's
here, and I
okay.
just skipped ahead. Anyways.
It's okay. I do the same thing. I'm like, I know I saw something and I had a thought and I have to find it. So, but no, I think you're
So
absolutely right. Actually, I call this section in the notes. I think I wrote Dunk almost has a critical thought.
yeah.
So he almost got there. Dunk is like he's thinking. He's thinking
Mhm.
because he sees these guys in the cage and the kid's like, we know who do you think they were? Again, weird question. And Dunk's immediately he's like, robbers, rapers, murderers, whatever. They're bad. And then Egg is like, well, they must have done something bad for them to die in a crow cage. And then Dunk's like, critique of classism kicks in. And he's like, some lords don't need much reason to put a man to death. Interesting.
Yeah.
What a thought, Dunk. And then he's like, they look half starved. Maybe they stole some bread or poached a deer. So like we went quickly from robbers, rapers, and murderers to maybe they were starving and, and stole a loaf of bread. Maybe they Jean Valjean
Actually,
themselves into this cage.
maybe nothing happened, right? Like I
Yeah.
was like, maybe maybe they
But
were guilty of nothing.
he never quite then comes to the conclusion, maybe the system is flawed. He's just like,
Right.
perhaps we don't know why they're there.
I w-
And yeah.
I will say Dunk's intuition in this passage is good. Like
Mhm.
he's on to something the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like,
He doesn't know
Dunk might
what, but he's on to something.
he's a little smarter than maybe we give him credit for. And they are on their way back from somewhere, and they sort of reference the fact that the two of them have been in Dorne for these
Mhm.
last 2 years,
Yeah.
which we're left at the end of the Hedge Knight with Dunk wants to go to Dorne because the girl he
Mhm.
wants to kiss is probably there
Yeah.
amongst the tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of other people who also live in Dorne.
Yeah.
And they are seemingly back in the Reach, although it's not you know well, I guess
Mhm.
they are back in the Reach. So they are back from their little vacation to Dorne, and they're headed to this castle called Standfast
Mhm.
with some wine.
Yeah. This is what knights do. They go get wine. They go for a beer run. That's what you send your knight for.
Yeah. The Lord sent him out on a beer run.
Yeah. He said, "Take this 20, go get a six pack. I need to there's no fucking water here." Oh, the other thing we're starting to understand is that there's a drought. There's a
a
really bad
bad
drought.
a bad drought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real
And they are
bad.
hot, they are sweaty. Um and where's the line about Dunk, the dragon in Dunk, not Dunk, I'm sorry, the dragon in Egg making him tan.
Oh, yeah, which is very interesting. This is very interesting. I think I know where you're going with this, but I
Yeah.
want you to he says
Which page is it on? I'm looking for it now.
beneath I think it's 120. Nope. Nope, where'd it go?
I should really start highlighting these things.
Yeah, I did early on, but it's got to be Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. On 124,
Okay.
In Dorne, he went about bare-chested and turned brown as a Dornishman. It is his dragon blood, Dunk told himself. Who ever heard of a sweaty dragon?
Do, do, do,
Use that. This is, there are. So, I meant to share that one of my accomplishments of the summer was that I can successfully influence my sister to read the Dunk and Egg novellas.
Yay!
And
does she listen to our podcast now?
She hasn't yet, although I think
Okay,
I can get her to do that.
Yeah, we'll get her.
She specifically mentioned how heartbreaking it was whenever Dunk thought Dunk the Lunk thick as a castle wall.
Yeah.
And there are moments where I'm like, you're right. He got brown as a Dornishman. It must be the fact he's Targaryen.
It's not Targ.
It's not that he's half Dornish or am
I still recording?
A quarter.
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, because my microphone unplugged, so I must just be on the computer's microphone.
Oh,
sorry. I don't know how that happened because I have been plugged in, but it still says my sound is happening.
I can still hear you.
My little sound thing is working. I guess it's fine. We're having a real good time here.
Setting wise.
Yeah, I mean it's so like my little microphone, it's going green when I'm talking.
Yeah. No, I mean I can still hear you, and you're still you're making sound. It just must be through the laptop microphone and not the.
I guess maybe maybe I didn't ever put it on the right microphone. All right.
Not through the.
Okay, I might sound like I'm shouting from the abyss. That's okay.
You could switch it over still if you wanted.
I don't know if it'll mess up the audio recording. It's okay. I am in fact shouting from the abyss. So
it doesn't sound. It really doesn't sound bad. So it's not the end of the world.
I don't know how that happened. I'm so confused. I didn't touch it. I didn't touch you, friend. We're having a really good first episode back. We're doing.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So we're just getting back in the swing of things.
I'm just gonna. This is where we are. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean the great
he's a quarter Dornish.
Yeah.
Or so who's Maekar's wife? Do we know that?
Is there the family tree in the back of this book, or did I pull it up on the internet? I think I pulled it up on the internet last time. We don't know. I don't think in the text we know who Maekar's wife is. But he at minimum. I mean, if you're going by your last name is this and therefore you're 100% that, which is also bullshit. The whole thing is bullshit.
Of course.
Blood purity is bullshit. We know this. This is a theme. I just love, sometimes the point of view bias is very subtle and you have to really dig for it. And sometimes George R. R. Martin hits you over the head with it so hard. And yet there will still be people that argue that he doesn't sweat because of the blood of the dragon.
Yes. And I totally forgot. I don't know why I didn't remember this. Maekar's wife, Diana Dane. Also Dornish.
It's got to be that Targ blood. What are you talking about? Dragons don't sweat.
So he is half Dornish because his mom is Dornish and his grandma is also Dornish. His grandma is also Dornish. So
he's more than half Dornish.
I guess because Maekar is half Dornish. So Dunk is more Dornish than Targaryen. That's a whole. Come on, did I say Dunk? Egg. Egg is. Sorry, Egg is more Dornish than Targaryen, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it must be because he's Targaryen. They're fireproof after all.
They are fireproof. I wonder if it's propaganda. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's propaganda. That's crazy.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just
fantastic.
realizing how insane it is that he says that. And again, it's like one of those moments where you're meant to be like, that's definitely, he says he gets brown as a Dornishman and then says it must be because he's Targaryen, the
Yes.
famously pale people.
Oh, George, I love you. You're great. We love that.
Absolutely
Um,
insane.
so our good
I
boys,
love that.
our good boys continue on with their. Oh, there's some talk briefly of King Aerys and his hand Bloodraven.
Yes. And this is first Bloodraven mention.
Yep.
Because he is not mentioned in the Hedge Knight, and it is also an indication that King Daeron has died,
Mm-hmm.
and Aerys obviously not the person that was meant to succeed Daeron, because we obviously saw that person die in the Hedge Knight. So
Yes.
the succession has occurred, and it's clearly not to Baelor. But crucially, it's also not to Baelor's sons,
Mm.
which would have been the route of succession. So why Aerys? Which I
Yeah.
think, and this is not in the text. So if you're like, I didn't read any of this, like,
Yeah.
don't be alarmed. And it's not really a spoiler. It's like, who is Aerys and why is he king? I think
Mm-hmm.
he's an uncle.
I
He
get my
is.
Targaryen boys confused. They're all kind of the same to me.
Oh, no, wait. Sorry, I'm wrong. Aerys is the second son of Daeron and Miriam Martell.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Did we get him on page in the first book?
Baelor's younger brother. No.
Right. Okay. He was
He's
one of our
he's like the
brothers.
bookish one.
Mm-hmm.
Aerys would sooner bring a book to bed rather than his wife.
Look, if a man likes to read, leave him alone. Let the poor man
Yeah,
read. He's over here on Book Talk, scrolling through the romanticises, but let him be.
exactly.
Let him be.
God forbid a man read a book.
Yeah, honestly. Well, I guess in patriarchal Westeros, yeah, no, that's a problem.
Absolutely. How dare he? And so Daeron is dead, and the throne obviously doesn't pass to Baelor, but it doesn't pass to Baelor's sons, which would have
Mm-hmm.
been up in the succession. We don't have the whole story there as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
And his hand is one Brynden Rivers.
He's fine. He's definitely not like spooky or scary or like has one bright red blood eye. No, he's totally cool.
The level that Dunk was unsettled in a single interaction with Bloodraven is
Yeah.
crazy. Like I think that really stuck out to me in terms of Dunk was like, I saw him once in King's Landing and I made eye contact with him and he knew that
Yeah.
I was staring at him and he saw through me completely in that moment.
Dunk was like, I saw this man once and was traumatized for life. I don't like it.
It's actually all I think about now. And
Yeah.
I literally go to sleep thinking about that single eye. But it is a really interesting sort of first, we've talked about in the Hedge Knight, George's characterizations and how strong they are, and sort of these single moments on page can get you in the right sort of space to understand a character and all that sort of stuff. Bloodraven is being mentioned in a memory.
Mm-hmm.
He's not on page at all. Like
Yep.
he's not in the scene. And you're just like, oh my God, like this guy is spooky.
I mean, I like the description. It includes his pallid skin and bone white hair made him look a living corpse. Is it significant, George? I don't know. Tell me more about the man with the bone white skin and the red eye and the magic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wonder what it means. God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Across his cheek and chin spread a wine-stained birthmark that was supposed to resemble a red raven, though Dunk only saw an odd-shaped blotch of discolored skin. He stared so hard that Bloodraven felt it. The king's sorcerer had turned to study him as he went by. He had one eye, and that one red. The other was an empty socket, the gift Bittersteel had given him upon the red grass field. Yet it seemed to Dunk that both eyes had looked right through his skin, down to his very soul. That's some spooky shit.
Yeah. Despite the heat, the memory made him shiver.
Yes.
Like, he has a physical reaction to it in the present. This happened years ago.
Yeah. And what I love about this, though, is like, this is another one of those things where it's like, is it magic or did we trick you? Like, Dunk thinks it's magic because Dunk's like, I stared so hard at him, he knew I was staring and he stared back at me and he saw through me. And I'm like, or just throwing it out there. A man who's famous was walking by and being stared at by the crowd, and he looked back at the crowd, and you were in the crowd.
Right.
Like, did he really see you specifically, Dunk? Or is this like when Taylor Swift looked at me at the Eras Tour, you know? Like, she saw me there. She knew I was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In my direction. It was for me.
I do love this idea too, because off of the basis of this scene, that would be enough for the fandom to say, and in that moment, Bloodraven decided that in the future, when he was in the tree, he would warg back into Dunk and create the tragedy at Summerhall via Dunk.
Ignore me entirely. I forgot entirely about that. That's
hold the dragon egg or whatever.
Yeah.
That's why his name is Dunk, is because he's saying dragon or whatever. I don't know.
He's saying dunk that egg in the basket.
Dunk that egg.
Dunk that egg.
It is crazy because this again is, highlighting all of the things that we talked about in terms of Dunk being disconnected from sort of the halls of power and all this sort of stuff, is making assumptions about somebody famous.
Yeah.
And is sort of assigning feeling to. So it's a parasocial relationship.
It's called a parasocial relationship. I have them with dozens of people on the internet. I know all about it.
I have it with Bo and Yang. Taylor
Swift released my favorite album on my birthday just for me, so.
Absolutely. And Dunk has a parasocial relationship with Bloodraven.
But what's so funny about that is, like, in a meta kind of way, like, Dunk is like a normal guy who has a parasocial relationship with this like famous person because like he looked at him one time. And meanwhile, in like real universe, Dunk is the main character of the story.
Right.
So like he's acting like a side character, but he is the main character of these novellas. So like if anything, Bloodraven should have a parasocial relationship with Dunk.
Depending on how you define the magic of the old gods, maybe he does. This is essentially the Reddit of the Weirwood Net is the Reddit of its time.
Just go in there and like a tree post. Give it a red leaf, that'll be good.
Exactly. So you mentioned that they're riding back in this drought. So we know stuff is like not going particularly well in the Seven Kingdoms because Baelor Breakspear died. That obviously is like, that's a tragedy of it in and of itself. Like the best king is not the king. Somebody else is the king. We don't really know that much about him from what we read. Drought in the Reach of all places. That's obviously bad. So this drought, though, it's obviously a drought in the sense that it's impacting the setting and the characters. This drought is obviously saying quite a bit more than that as well.
What? Are you suggesting the drought has like thematic meaning in the story? That's, I don't know.
Actually, you know what? On second thought, maybe it's not that deep. So
I was about to say that.
Well, the rivers certainly aren't because there's a drought. So.
Oh, but you get it? It's great. Good. Excellent. We're here all week, friends.
And probably back next week. We'll see. So
no problem.
Talk to me about this drought. What else does it mean?
Well, there's definitely something going on in this section and I'll preface it a bit here, but we should circle back when we're done summarizing, of
True.
the the conflict between man and nature, and also man using nature to hurt others. So there's like this, there's three things in this section where that comes up. So there's the bodies in the cage, the fact that there's this violence being done to these people by putting them in the cage, but then the actual act of violence is by the crows, right? Nature has attacked them. Starvation has killed them. Like these environmental factors that they're being exposed to is ultimately what's causing the violence. But they're only trapped there because another human put them in there. The drought, we get an indication that the people think the drought is because of the king. They seem to think there's a connection, which is like not fair because a singular person doesn't cause the drought. But there seems to be like the people sort of think that. And then we get the most obvious one with the river and the dam, which is in the next part of the chapter, being rerouted, which we're going to get to. So I think that there's like, George is really hitting us with these kind of like themes about the violence of nature, but particularly the violence of nature when it's wielded from one human to another, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and water being, the literal sort of source of life and vital to life and all that sort of stuff. So and yeah, we'll get to the discussions of the dam, I guess, but yeah, one human depriving life from another human in sort of a quite literal sense, it maybe a less direct way than just pure violence, like
and there's definitely like a consuming kind of thing going on too. I think we might need more of the story to get there, but there's sort of two things. So there's the fact that the corpses in the cage, one man began to eat the other. Yeah. So there's like literal cannibalism, which George loves. And
he does enjoy it.
He does love a good cat. And I can't blame him. It's interesting.
When desperate times, George is going to throw cannibalism in there.
Yeah. He's going to say, is it cannibalism?
Right.
Is it pork? I don't know. What do you think? And then there's the fact that we get a description of the fields, like the food in the fields wilting and shriveling from this lack of water. So we have like this starvation, like really, really serious threat of both dehydration and starvation happening that we get hit with right away. So that's something that I think we should probably track as we continue to read this one, because as soon as you introduce a drought, you introduce the real threat of starvation. Right. And so that's kind of what I was picking up on at this point.
Yeah. And it's clear that I think there's a level of bounty, I guess, available in the Hedge Knight, in that there's a lot of people who are prospering. It's not Dunk, but there's a lot of people who are doing really well. This is sort of introducing like, hey, kind of nobody is doing well, or at least like normal people are not doing well. Yeah. And there are still nobles willing to pay coin for knights to go out on beer runs. So like that's like the juxtaposition here too, where it's like they go back through these like drought parched lands with casks of wine for their liege lord that they've sworn their swords to. And as they're headed back, they meet, dare I say, one of the most repugnant characters ever put on page by George. Yeah. And I hate to color the audience's, perceptions of Sir Bennis, but my God, George wastes no time making this absolute shitheel just like expose himself for what he is. I hate this dude.
Yeah, he's just kind of a dick. He's just like hanging out at the bridge, and he's like, you guys were gone for such a long time. We figured you stole the money and ran, but you weren't going to come back with the beer. You were going to drink it yourself. And Dunk's like, I'm Sir Dunk the Tall. Fuck you. And Dennis is just like a dick, basically. He's like, he's like I guess he's not a knight as far as we know. He's just like a sword.
I think he is he is a knight. He calls him Sir Bennis.
Okay, so then maybe
so I do think he's a knight, but he's a hedge knight, similar to Dunk. Like and I think in terms of like why George even has this guy,
Mm-hmm.
it does feel very much like he's presented Dunk as a certain type of hedge knight. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously we know that Dunk is not technically a knight by the laws of Westeros
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. He has sort of conned his way into it.
Yeah.
And it's what makes him a great character and all those sorts of things. Please go listen to the previous, whatever, 15 episodes that we
Yeah.
recorded about this. And Bennis is likely, again, he's likely a knight because by all of the laws and traditions and all this sort of stuff. And he's presented as a very different type of hedge knight who is truly out to benefit like himself. There is
Mm-hmm.
no thought of honor. There's no thought of like every single thing and every dilemma and every situation that Dunk confronts this guy with. He says the most like violently pragmatic thing
Yeah.
that benefits him specifically. Like there's never a choice that this guy's offered where he's not like, I would do the bad thing that benefits only
Mm-hmm.
me. Where Dunk is obviously the person who has been presented up until this point, and I'm sure likely to continue to
Mm-hmm.
be presented as the guy who upholds what the realm thinks of as knightly values and knightly
Mm-hmm.
chivalry and all these sorts of things. And so we're constantly presented, and even within the first 10 pages of this story, we're presented with this knight who is just a piece of shit. Like, he just sucks.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like Dunk is kind of like, I don't know if lawful good is too strong for Dunk, but he's like near about theirs. And then this guy's like
maybe
chaotic
like neutral good
neutral.
almost, where he's like, because lawful
Yeah.
is maybe like,
Lawful's a little strong, so he's like maybe neutral good.
but he's just good. Like, he's just
He's
good.
good. He's a very good boy.
The
And this
goodest
guy's like
boy.
probably like chaotic neutral. I wouldn't say Bennis is like chaotic evil, but
No, yeah,
he's like
certainly
a
not.
good chaotic neutral. And that clash is really interesting because they should be doing the same thing. They're doing the same job. It's like when at your work there's someone else that has the same job as you, but you're like much better at your job, and it's just really annoying because
Mhm.
you're trying to do like all the right stuff, and then this motherfucker next to you is like taking shortcuts and shit,
Yeah.
and they're like not alphabetizing the spreadsheet and whatever, and you're like, fuck you, man. Like, I
Yep.
spent so much time on this, and you get paid the same as me, and you don't even get sent out for the beer run, So it's like they have, it's a really interesting comparison, especially when Bennis starts like antagonizing Dunk by calling him Dunk
Right.
and not calling him Sir Dunk the Tall.
Sir
Duncan.
Duncan.
Sir Duncan the Tall.
Which is funny because this is a bit of a callback to something we talked about, which is Dunk's name is not Duncan.
Yeah.
He made that up because Egg suggested it was like, your name is Dunk, that's insane. And he's like, oh yeah, it's short for Duncan.
Yeah.
Which he literally thinks, Arlen didn't call me anything but Dunk, so I have no idea what my name is.
Yeah.
So he just has made that up. And
Yeah.
it is funny that he's offended on his own behalf for this guy not calling him by his made-up name.
Yeah.
So now, that being said, there's an important lesson here that you should call people by their preferred names.
Exactly. Yes.
And identity is important, and how you think about yourself is important.
And the fact that he's gotten that much confidence. Because think
Right.
about where we left him 2 years ago with the all of the internal thoughts we had of him like doubting himself and being like,
Right.
are people gonna figure out that this is a farce? Like what's like that kind of
Right.
stuff. And now he's like, no, I am a hedge knight. This is my squire. I am Sir Duncan the Tall. You will call me Sir Duncan the Tall. And Bennis is like, I will do no such thing. Bennis is like, you cannot peer pressure me into calling you Sir Duncan the Tall.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Bennis leans into this whole idea of name calling, and it's sort of part of his character. But what's interesting is that he's like equal opportunity in the sense that he calls poor Dunk Dunk, right? Like he's calling this hedge knight. He's sort of punching down to this hedge knight, but he also calls the lord that he's sworn his sword to Sir Useless.
Yep.
Which we know that his name is Eustace.
Yeah.
But
he
calls him Sir Useless. And I did think that this was interesting because Dunk stands up for Eustace because it's like, hey, he's putting a roof over our heads and all these sorts of things. And there is an element of like, you know, there is a little bit of something based about Bennis being like, fuck this guy. He doesn't give a shit about us. And I'm like, okay, I do actually kind of, that's.
Is this an act of passive resistance? You know, I kind of think it is.
He's made some compelling points. Like, I was like, I didn't like when he was making fun of the poor person. But now that he's making fun of somebody rich.
And our audience, this is the difference between punching down and punching up.
Yeah.
Jokes of punching up, funny. Jokes punching down, not funny. But punching up, always funny. Making fun of rich person, funny. Always funny.
It's
good lesson.
And it is interesting that now I think there's something here about the fact that Dunk respects the fact that Eustace is what he says old knight and is housing them. Which is a kindness that he definitely has not gotten from every lord that he's encountered. And so I do think that it makes sense that Dunk has a soft spot for Eustace. And at the same time, you know, I guess the question is like, and maybe this is where the jaded sort of older hedge knight of Bennis is like, these people don't care and they don't respect you. Like, they don't respect you. So there's no point in respecting them back, right? Like, take their coin, take their housing, take whatever you can.
Get your bag and go.
Yeah. And you don't owe them anything back. They don't owe you anything back. Your debts are clear either way. Like, and just leave them in the dust, because at the end of the day, they wouldn't care if you died or lived or whatever, as long as you served them faithfully. And so it is an interesting sort of a lens to take, in that Bennis is an asshole for sure. He sucks and everything about him sucks. And there is like an element of like, I kind of get where he's coming from in terms of like, these people don't care about you.
I mean, he kind of sounds like he was radicalized playing Final Fantasy as a child. I think that he might he might be like, capitalism sucks.
Do the quest and just take the gill and run.
Yeah.
But he also, I think, well, I guess we'll get to the fact that, like, because we're obviously, we learn about the fact that Bennis is, well, one, he's not interested in actually understanding anything that's going on. Like, he's not a problem solver. He's not trying to, like, whereas Dunk is like, this river was running.
Yeah. So
and I know there's a drought.
Yeah.
But now the river's dry. He's like, we're only gone 6 days. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Look at him using his critical thinking skills. I'm so proud of him.
He's right there. He's
getting
right there.
He's just little baby steps. I do want to just point out one funny thing before we continue. On the very top of page 126, Bennis says, they're talking about the Greyjoys raiding and like doing bad things.
Yes.
And he refers to, I guess it's Dagon Greyjoy. The first name is Dagon. But when I first read that, my brain went, that doggone Greyjoy wants for hanging.
That daggone Greyjoy.
That daggone Greyjoy wants for hanging.
With the drought and everything, you'd be forgiven for just like, this is just a Western. Like this isn't even, George just wrote a Western.
I would have made that daggone Greyjoy at high noon.
Them daggone Greyjoy boys are back.
And for a moment, my brain was transported to Red Dead Redemption, and then I came back to Westeros.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to point that out. Well, so it's interesting about this river, because do you think Bennis didn't know what was happening?
This is something that I was going back and forth on, because Bennis is sort of putting roadblocks up in front of Dunk. Of trying to figure this out. He's like, why are you wasting your time? Who cares? Like, this is pointless. Streams dry up all the time.
Yeah. What it's
which is an
called global
insane,
warming, Dunk. Come on.
which is an insane, patently insane thing to say. Streams dry up all the time. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a lie. That
So
doesn't
the
like
greenhouse gases from all the dragons that are used nowadays in King's Landing. It's just the ozone layer's gone, Dunk.
industrial
Come on.
industrialization of
Of
Valyrian
dragon flame.
steel. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he is putting up all these roadblocks, and it kind of does feel like he knows exactly what's going on, and he doesn't want to get involved. Like, he doesn't want there to be some kind of conflict that over this water and the fact that this river may have dried up not by natural means. But Dunk, obviously, he realizes that something is up, wants to understand what's going on, like wants to get to the bottom of it. And then there's a moment where Bennis, like when Dunk figures out or they find what's actually happened, Bennis says something along the line of like, well, now we don't have any choice, or something like that.
Because Dunk goes like full CSI. He's
Yes.
like, why is the river dried up? Da 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 da. And he's like there with a fucking magnifying glass looking at rocks, and he's like, it's wet underneath. That means it dried up recently. Da 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 da. You know.
Yeah.
And Bennis is like, please shut the fuck up. Please stop whatever
Please
you're doing.
don't do this.
We don't need to do this. And so Dunk's basically like, well, I'm just gonna go upstream until I find out what happened. And so Bennis follows him. So I think it's like Bennis says, where I know what you're talking about.
See what you went and did, Lunk, said Bennis. Couldn't have it that the stream dried up. No, might be this starts with water, but it'll end with blood. Yours and mine, most like. And then the Brown Knight drew his sword. Well, no help for it now. There's your thrice damned diggers. Best we put some fear in them. So he goes straight from like, I wasn't trying to get involved. Like, Bennis goes from, you had to go digging to find out like what was actually going on with the stream, and now we know that there's some sort of conflict brewing, and I'm the one who's expected to visit violence here, so I'm going to willingly, and actually more willingly than I should. Like, he just like he immediately goes from like, you shouldn't have got us involved, but now that we are involved, I may as well hurt people.
Yeah, let's go 0 to 100. Let's go.
Like, which is really crazy. And I think maybe that's why, you know, the class consciousness from Bennis is not quite there, because it's like, he doesn't like the lords, but the second he gets an invitation to do violence, he's like, and I will, like, willingly, I will sign up extra to do violence.
I wonder if I'm reading too much into this, and this is one of those times where I may very well be reading too much into this, because I kind of interpreted it as that Bennis not only knew that the dam was being built. So basically, what's happening upstream is the people that have the land across the river have built the dam and are rerouting the water to their fields. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
So they encounter the diggers who are digging the channels for the water. I kind of interpreted it as, and maybe I need the rest of the story to see more of Bennis if he's on page more to see more of him, that he's disgruntled with Eustace, you know, Sir Useless, he doesn't like. And these people want to reroute this river that like he's supposed to be guarding. Was he like bribed to not do anything? Like, was he like a lot more involved than we necessarily know? And then when he shows up, he has to put on this show of like, oh, big violence, sword time, very mad, because he has to kind of like cover his ass. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm reading this. I might be reading too much into. I don't know if we have enough on page to support that, but that's like kind of how I was reading it when I went through it.
I think it's a fair idea. I think it is fair to ask the question of like, why did this guy who wanted to stay out of this quite clearly and didn't want anything is so quick to draw his sword? Because in theory, if it's like, hey, I want to stay out of this, the sort of natural thing would be like, hey, we just need to go tell Sir Eustace what's going on. Or just not go with Duck. And he can, or not go. Yeah, exactly. There's like plenty of options available to him where it's like, if he goes with, then it can be like, hey, we just need to go tell the old man, and then he'll decide what to do. Like, we don't have to do anything right now.
Mhm.
or not go.
Yeah.
But it is not obvious that it's like, well, we probably have to like slash one of these guys with our swords, like just to make sure that they get the message. Like that's a
Yeah.
crazy like logical leap to go from, oh no, they're damming this stream and redirecting the water, to like, I need to hurt somebody right now.
Mhm.
And I do
Yeah.
think that I do think you're like supposed to at least draw the fact that like Bennis is clearly, if nothing else, like the only thing that sort of motivates him, because he's not motivated by finding out the right thing. He's not motivated by like seeking truth. He's not motivated by serving the person that he's sworn to. Like, but he
Mhm.
is motivated by, I might get to hurt somebody right now.
Yeah. And I think even Dunk even like makes a comment when uh Bennis made his longsword whistle, opening the old man's cheek from ear to jaw. The digger's
Yeah, he
blood ran red
slashes.
down. Yeah, which
He
is
slashes a
dangerous.
he slashes an old man's face open with his
Yeah.
longsword, like
And Dunk thinks he should not have done that. So it
right.
is part. I mean, part of this interaction is characterizing Dunk. That Dunk is like, this is not the time for this kind of violence. Like there are times for violence. This is not
Yeah,
that time. We can just scare these people off by being like, get out, basically. And they do ultimately get out. So it
yeah,
really wasn't necessary to attack workers with shovels with
right,
your giant steel longsword.
right. Um, no, and Dunk even says like before he slashes the digger's face, Dunk even says like, put up your steel. This is not his doing. This maester set them to the task, because they basically say that it was a maester, and they're
Mhm.
claiming that it is Weber land. So we know that he is in service to Eustace Osgray. The
Mhm.
Webers are a
The
neighboring
spiders. Yes.
house. Yeah,
Spiderland.
which you put in the outline, Madam Web, and
Yeah.
I love that. I
The first
don't
thing
think
I
I've
thought.
heard. So what was really, I do want to talk about because okay, so just to, in terms of recapping what actually happens, they have this interaction with the diggers. Bennis slashes one of the diggers with his longsword, and run back to they run back to the, presumably the Webers, and basically it ends with them saying because
We're gonna
Dunk said,
tattletale.
all we want is our water, tell your lady that. And the one guy who was looking like he might try to fight with a shovel says, oh, we'll tell her, sir, that we will.
Mhm.
But up until this point, there is a moment where they talk about the Webers and the fact that the Red Widow,
Mhm.
and there's also a moment where George is like very unsubtle about the fact that it says, when they're talking about the dam and the rivers, they're saying behind the dam the flow was creeping up the banks and spilling off into a ditch that had been cut through Lady Weber's fields. Dunk stood in his stirrups for a better look. The glint of sun off water betrayed a score of lesser channels running off in all directions like a spider's web.
I like to think that Dunk actually thought that,
I
and
do
he was
think so.
like,
Yeah.
he's like, "Do you get it?" He's like, "It's like a spider's web because it's the
Yeah.
webers." Do you
Again,
get it?
I think we talked about it. I like I really wish that this show, I know the show is going to take itself way too seriously. I really
Mhm.
wish that we got like straight up like Saved by the Bell fourth wall breaking of like
Yes.
spider's web. Get it? Like, or
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Oh. Oh. Or they made it look like a spider's web. I get it.
yeah. um but at one point
Absolutely.
he is thinking about like these stories that he has been told about the Lady Weber, the Red Widow, and it's
So
like
I had a
very brief.
Yeah, I had a
um
question. Is she the Red Widow? So it says the Red Widow, she was called for the husbands she had put into the ground. Does that mean her husbands or just like men in general?
I think it's her, so in the passage, I do think it's her husband's, and like no spoilers, but it is. She's been like married multiple times, and her husbands have died. But but I thought that it was interesting that because Dunk wanted no trouble with the Lady of the Cold Moat, which Cold Moat is the other castle. Standfast is Eustace Oxgray's castle for anyone trying to keep score at home. So at Standfast, you heard ill things of her. The Red Widow, she was called, for the husband she had put into the ground. Old Sam Stoops said she was a witch, a poisoner, and worse. 2 years ago, she had sent her knights across the stream to seize an Osgray man for stealing sheep. When Milord rode to Cold Moat to demand him back, he was told to look for him at the bottom of the moat, Sam had said. She'd sewn poor Dakin a bag of rocks and sunk him. 'Twas after that Sir Eustace took Sir Bennis into his service to keep them spiders off his lands. And so what's really interesting to me about this is that we don't know anything about this woman, the Lady Weber. Like, we know she has not appeared on page. We literally know nothing about her. And she has been thoroughly demonized in all of the ways that women are demonized in this world, where she is a witch, a poisoner, and worse, whatever the fuck that means.
That's like, that's her taking Tylenol while pregnant. That's the worst part.
And her kids are autistic as well. But it was just really crazy to me that, like, out the gate, the neighboring woman, lord, or lady, is the holder of these lands, is all of the classic things that a woman is in George's worlds when you're meant to think that they're evil, which is a witch, a poisoner, a seductress, a temptress, a widower, like all of these things. Like, she murdered her husbands, obviously, those sorts of things. She
sounds like Visenya Targaryen is described.
Yeah.
That's the same things. Visenya was described as a witch. She was thought of as a poisoner as well. These are all things that Visenya is described as. It's that spooky, scary ladies. We can't get away from the spooky, scary ladies.
Nope. And again, like, I think it's just so fascinating. Like, I'm excited to meet this person if we do in the story, but I'm excited to meet them because I think the reality of characters is often different than how they're sort of talked up. And it'll be.
Are you saying she's not a witch? Hold on.
Oh no, I mean, she's definitely a witch. She is a woman after all.
But, I mean, you have to, there's like a carrot tied to her nose, like in Monty Python. She's a witch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what. In the story, right? Like, she turned me into a newt. Like, she sewed old whatever into a bag of rocks.
He got
better. Yeah. So we end this passage with the threat. So Bennis's violence against the people who dug / put this dam into place. The sort of promise of future conflict is left hanging in the air. And we're left with all of these different descriptions and themes, and obviously now Dunk and Egg being back in the Reach. So what, from your reading of these, we've talked a lot about some of the stuff that's being explored already in these opening 10 pages, but maybe going one layer deeper from what we've talked about, like, what stuck out to you in this passage from an analysis standpoint, and maybe taking that one layer sort of off the top and diving into what George is talking to us about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a ton of stuff. I mean, this man packs these passages. It's amazing. It truly is. Like, I hope one day I can meet George R. R. Martin and just cry in front of him, because that's what would happen. We talked.
I want to meet George R. R. Martin and ask him if Brandon Sanderson can finish his books.
Oh God! What a terrible thing that happened.
Just always. Just if I ever get the chance to see him in person, I just want to ask, like, hey, do you think this Mormon guy should finish your books?
Oh my God. If I genuinely if I had a question to ask George R. Martin, it would be, are dragon babies real? Like, that would be like my question. I would like, please confirm my theory that it's bullshit. but
I like that.
because I didn't want to ask like what's going to happen in the end. Like that's a stupid question. So we already talked a little bit about not everything is dragons in terms of like the bit about Dunk. So we already analyzed that. That was, I think, a big one that really brought back a just sharp focus that we're in a point of view story. And I do think point of view is so important throughout all of his work, and especially here, because we're in a unique point of view, being from a small folk point of view that we don't get in like the main series. So keeping tabs on that as we read through the book, because it just comes up constantly. There's a really interesting passage in the beginning where Dunk is thinking about Thunder. He's always worried about Thunder potentially getting hurt, which is fair because it would be a really big deal if his warhorse could no longer horse.
And a lot of it. Yeah. One of those things I actually, thinking back to the Hedge Knight, basically the reason that Arlen like never had a lot of coin is because it's one of these things where it's like, I'm not liquid right now. Like I all my coins tied up in my horses and armor, that's like, and so, like a war horse for a knight is like, not only, what you would ride in tourneys or what you would ride in battle and all this sort of stuff. And it's like a big investment because these horses are worth like thousands of gold pieces.
Especially a war horse. Oh my God. Like, you have to get like a certain breed of horse that's trained a particular way, and the gear. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's like
he sells a palfrey in the first book for 700 silver pieces, and he wanted 7,000. So you're talking about, in terms of the exchange rate and all this different stuff and the math here, like a war horse is genuinely worth like hundreds
and
of gold
with
pieces.
inflation
Like more,
and tariffs,
right?
especially
for associate horses are going like for crazy amounts, after they're paying the duties and everything. So I just think but yeah, so I mean, we're talking about more money than Dunk has seen in his whole life in this animal, and the only thing that can carry him in battle or in a tournament, which is the only thing that stands to make him more money. So crazy, like his like whole life is tied to the life of this animal.
He's actually really lucky that he inherited that horse. Like the fact that he got that, like that
he'd
was
have been
like
toast.
If he was there. So what he says, he's talking about the road being dangerous, and there are these like ruts on the side of the road. Like horses can break their legs, and once they break their legs, that's kind of it. So he's thinking about how he twisted his own ankle, but it was fine. But he's like really worried about Thunder not twisting his ankle. And he says, if Thunder were to break a leg, though, well, a knight without a horse was no knight at all. And it reminded me immediately of a Game of Thrones, a cow who cannot ride is no cow.
Yep.
And timeline-wise, George wrote Game of Thrones well before this.
Yeah.
So he is referencing himself in that line. That is his own callback. And I just thought it was interesting to think about the fact that you have these cultures throughout the universe he's built that are so reliant on being able to be on horseback. And this is perhaps analysis that would require like more of a deep dive into the like a Game of Thrones and like the Dothraki. But the way the Westerosi look at and like other these cultures, like other the Dothraki, they're like, the savage horde Dothraki. It's like they're just knights that have a curvy sword. They're just knights that have a curvy sword. They're warriors on horseback.
Yep.
That's what Dunk is. He's a warrior on horseback. And without his horse, he can't do that. And the Dothraki without the horse can't do that. They're the same. You just have a bias. You just have a Westerosi, have a bias. And think knights, chivalry, good, honor, whatever. Dothraki, evil, spooky, scary, savage, Yeah. And there is that sort of commentary here. Not a ton on page here, but it's sort of baked into all of the explorations of knighthood. I think is also applicable to, well, then what about these other mounted warriors we see? Taking that a step further, I do think there's all kinds of comparisons between like knighthood and dragon riding, because dragon riding is kind of like your most advanced horseback, more or less.
Horseback 402 or whatever.
Yeah. This is advanced horseback. This is only for the seniors, and the grad students take advanced horseback.
Yeah.
So I thought in that way, I think it's interesting because of how important dragon riding is to the power of the Targaryens. And when we have Targaryens who don't have dragons or aren't dragon riders, how they are seen as lesser than to the Targaryens that have dragons and are dragon riders. So this like the real importance of like being like a mounted warrior and like the physical advantage that gives you in battle, and the fact that physical advantage then gives you status.
Right.
So that sounded like I was thinking about that when I saw that line.
No, I do really love the callback, and I do think that, that sort of thing just strikes me as like very intentional by George. And I think when you boil it down, and these warriors have, despite very different cultures and all of these different things surrounding it, maybe the window dressing is different. The actual mechanics of what makes a warrior, what makes it like, are the same. And that is gosh, it's just like, it is wild when you're presented with sort of this obvious connection this way. And it even got me thinking just about the whole idea of things like the Blackfire Rebellion and stuff that we'll, explore more in these books. Those sorts of things are only possible because of the lack of dragons. Like the Blackfire Rebellion almost certainly doesn't happen without, or if there are dragons in the mix. And the Targaryens still have these sort of like heralds and symbols of power, in addition to truly being able to wield violence and stuff like via the dragons. So there's all kinds of things there that I think are really interesting to explore. And I guess like we talked a lot in the Hedge Knight about sort of how these oaths and all these sorts of things are window dressing and are really just sort of hiding the fact that culturally the Westerosi are not different from really anybody. Like they're not elevated. They think of themselves quite highly, but that's about it. And we know all of these things to be what they are, like to be truly window dressing, that they aren't observed truly. They aren't, followed to a T, all these sorts of things. Like people do stuff in their own interest, just like they would anywhere else. And yet they think of other cultures savagely for that reason, like as savages for that reason, because, they just pursue their own self-interest and they aren't honorable like us, when we're also not honorable, right? Like we're also like violently pursuing our own self-interest. And so what I've thought was really interesting about this too, is that Dunk, despite the fact that he is the on-page example of the knight who defies all of these things, he as a person is defending the institutions on page, right? Which it's really interesting that he's like, I'm Sir Duncan the Tall, and like I'm a knight, and these are all things that are very important and like are important to me and are important to uphold and all these sorts of things. And I just thought that was really interesting that he is used, despite the fact that he's an example of why it's bullshit, he is also now bought in. Which I think, I don't know, there's like some kind of lesson in here about being sucked in by sort of
it's like
a culture you don't belong to, I guess, or whatever. I don't really know how to characterize it, but basically he's going to bat for people that wouldn't give him, wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire.
Yeah. I think it's a sort of fascinating study of how comfortable hypocrisy can be, and how like from an outside lens we're like, Dunk, you're not, sweetie, you were never knighted, you're not a knight, like it's cool, you act like it, tell everyone you are, it doesn't really matter, we don't care, the institutions are stupid. but he
Right.
never gets to the institutions are stupid. He just gets to, but I can work this institution and make it work, right? And never like he
I
never
can
gets there.
I can change him.
Yeah,
Uh
I can change him exactly.
yeah.
I know. This is white women voting for Trump. You know, like this is the grab him by the pussy. Oh, that's just locker room talk. You know, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that on YouTube.
I mean, we're about to find out. That's it.
Cancels. Pot of the Seven Kingdoms done.
Yeah.
But you know, it's fascinating because when you look at that kind of hypocrisy from the outside, it's so obvious, and you're like, how does this person not see it? But all of us absolutely live with stuff like that, and I think the part of the fascinating aspect of like becoming an adult, I think, and like growing up and you know becoming more self-reflective and whatever is discovering those things about yourself. And I know for myself, I mean, over the years, one thing I've always dealt with was like the internalized misogyny I was taught as a teenager and unpacking that over time. And it's something I'm still doing. And I probably will be doing for the rest of my life because that's like how I was socialized. And, you know, but it's hypocritical. It's extremely hypocritical to be like, women should be this way because I'm just constraining my own options in the process. Like that's silly. It's a stupid thing to do. It's a hypocritical thing to do. But it's very comfortable to have a set of rules and be like, these are the rules. They are immutable, and I shall apply them, and I will make them work for me. And that's what Duncan's doing there. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. That, and I think we're going to continue to see him be trying to uphold these systems that are ultimately the systems that are oppressing him.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy.
Love that for him.
Yeah, I just really love that. I don't know. I like love that discussion because it's like Dunk is obviously the protagonist in like the purest way in the story. And in the stuff that we're actually critiquing, you know, in this story, he is sort of on board. Like he's kind of like where you're like, you know, a cab, and he's like, I don't know about that. Like I'm still like I'm not a defund the police guy, you
right
know?
He's like, don't defund. I'm not going to defund the gold cloaks. I just think, you know, some reform might be fine, but you know, they're really, there's only a few bad apples. That's that is kind of what
yeah,
it's like.
it's an interesting. He is yeah, he's like a classic lib. That's very fun. So we talked I guess like in terms of closing this out, because we did talk about we talked sort of as we went about the couple of things in here. I mean, the POV bias, I do want to just like put a nice bow on, because there is like it is big in the Hedge Knight. It feels almost more intense in George just making sure that it's like you are seeing this from Dunk's perspective, and he doesn't know everything that's going on. Like the amount of sort of dramatic irony and all this sort of stuff like is really, really thick in this one.
Yeah. And I think what you pointed out in the very beginning of the chapter, the closer to line, that mounted atop Thunder, Dunk was much closer to the dead men.
Yeah.
Dunk, Bubby, come on, come on. We're so close. But yeah, I think there's a couple like that. The you know, oh, Egg got so tan, it must be his Targaryen side, you know, and actually
the classically tan.
Yeah, classically tan Targaryens. and the whole conversation about the dead men in the gibbet cage, and like, oh, clearly they're robbers or rapers or murderers, or maybe, well, they must have done something bad. Well, maybe they didn't do something bad. Maybe they stole some bread, and that's why they're in there. You know, it's like we descend in terms of crime, but we never get to they shouldn't have been in the gibbet cage, right? Because the point
maybe
of view
they were
is so
just
dense.
Maybe they were just like us, right? Like he never says, like he never gets to that point. Like maybe they were just two people on the road, who were in the wrong place at the wrong time, sort of deal. Like he never quite gets there.
Yeah, he gets.
But it's close. Definitely, it's like, and I think that's part of, you know, the reality of the situation is that most often people are trying to make sort of determinations from the information they have and all this sort of things and lived experience and everything. And despite the fact that Dunk has a lot of information, he is also just like trying to live in this society or whatever, you know.
If people also, this kind of goes back to the comfort of hypocrisy. People like when the rules work.
Sure.
And they like when things fit together and it's recognizable and there's logic. So the rule should be, if you end up starving to death in a gibbet cage, it's because you deserved it, because you did something that hurt someone. Like there should be like a justice aspect. And so that's what his knee-jerk reaction, because that's his point of view. We human beings here in Western culture have the same point of view. Because when you talk to the average person about people going to prison, you want to think they're going to prison because they deserve it. There's something that justified that. And unfortunately, the justice system is not anywhere near perfect. And that is not unfortunately that way. And it's uncomfortable to think that the rules that should do something are in fact not doing that.
Yeah.
So, and that's the point of view in that way for Dunk is like, and I think we'll see this going forward. He wants the system to be working. He's finally participating in it. He wants it to be working. He's finally made it to be, Sir Duncan the Tall.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, maybe there's, because I'm even reflecting on my own sort of, I work for a very large healthcare provider, the name of which I will not say, but
no, like, don't do that. Not here on the internet.
But I don't like the healthcare system in America. And also they're cutting my paychecks. So like, I benefit directly from that. And I wish it didn't work like that, right? Like, so it is like, and I know people who are like in the military or work for like, I mean, shit, I know like people on the left who work for like defense contractors. Like there's all kinds of like, your conscience only goes as far as like your ability to exist within that
absolutely
sort of psychological framework. And like, and at a certain point, like if, hey, I can make a lot of money doing X, Y, and Z, and this is how the system works. I don't like it, but like that's how it is. Like, it becomes a very strange sort of philosophical sort of
yeah. I mean,
argument.
I don't want to live under capitalism, but I do.
Right.
There's nowhere I can go that's like a nice socialist country. I would love to be that place. But this is where I am. I can't be like, I refuse to work and make money because I don't believe in capitalism, because then I'll starve and be homeless, right? Like, I need to pay my rent. And
I think I made a TikTok a long time ago because I got a bunch of comments under a video. I want to say it was one of the Final Fantasy videos about this. I think it was like maybe Final Fantasy 7, which is, obviously the maybe starkest sort of capitalist critique of all of them. But I mean, they are all to a certain extent. But Final Fantasy 7, has a power company as the prime antagonist, and they were like, there was a commenter who was like, and I bet you have a job because of capitalism or whatever. And it always reminds me of the cartoon. There's a fantastic political cartoon of like a medieval serf carrying like a bundle of sticks, who is like, I wish that society was a little bit better. And a guy pops out of a well in like a polo shirt, and he's like, and yet you participate in society.
Yeah.
I am very smart, right? Like that's and I always think about that, because I do think about the fact that, hey, like at the end of the day, society works the way that it does. And so maybe Dunk deserves a little bit of slack for his, sort of like limited worldview, in that, hey, I have found myself in this station. I'm lucky to have found myself here. I would otherwise be begging or robbing or like in a city guard or squiring for some other hedge knight or whatever he thinks about at the beginning of the last book. And he's not.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really suit him to go around being like knighthood is a sham, right? Like, because
Yeah.
they'll just kill him, that's like where it's like they'll just
Well,
do away with or arrest him or whatever. Like there's
he
not
would
a
be
lot of
Sir Bennis.
political active. Well, yeah,
He would be Sir Bennis. Like if he was a knight going around being like, "Isn't the system fucking sucking?" He would be Sir Bennis.
damn.
Maybe Sir Bennis has a point.
We went from broke to woke in one
Yeah.
episode. Sir Bennis.
Our woke king coming out of the dark corner. Whew, Sir Bennis.
Honestly, based. Sir Based of the Brown Shield.
Sir Base of the Brown Shield.
No, that is wow. No, I think it is a genuinely interesting discussion because it is, Dunk. It just shows, and maybe the real world discussion is a way of just painting the ease with which one can find, like you said, the ease of hypocrisy and the ease of sort of like your level of participation sort of requires a certain level of hypocrisy, right? Like the system requires it.
And it's easy if the system is working for you.
Yeah.
It's easy to think the system is good. So a really good example of this in the main series is Catelyn Stark. The system worked great for Catelyn Stark up until the tail end. Didn't work out at the tail end. but
did something? No spoilers, but did something happen? Yeah.
She had a party. It wasn't great.
Did something? Not there yet. So
not good. But
I just know I hate her because she's a woman. So
right. Yeah. She's to blame probably for everything. I heard she started
the War of the Five Kings. That's definitely.
That's it. That's done. We're done.
That's definitely true.
But she followed all the rules, right? She was like, she's a lord's daughter. She got married to the Warden of the North. She had as many children as she possibly could. She had a bunch of sons, and some good daughters too. And she taught them all good shit. And she's like, and when Arya's like, I don't want to wear dresses, Catelyn's like, I don't understand. Like, it's great to do this. Why aren't you happy doing these activities? All women like these activities. It worked great for me. Now you have to do this too. So
it works.
It's very easy when the system works well for you to be like, look at how great the system is. Don't you love my system? Yeah. Like, it's fantastic. Dunk is in the situation where he was, like you were saying, he was very near to being like a real victim of the system. Not victim, but like a tragedy of the system. Like he could have been, like you said, begging or robbing or whatever. And he just barely teased out like some agency to rise ever so slightly. And so now he's in a position where like, yeah, it would be really hard for him to critique it because he's finally gained something. And it's like the one thing he wanted. And it's hard to, from that point of view. And this is why I was talking about like point of view and the lens. Like it's the lens here is so thick from Dunk. Like from that point of view, he can't think of the system as broken or bad because it has given him a chance, and it's the only chance he ever wanted. Not realizing that at the same time it is subjugating him, just like by his birth. So it's like a little fascinating little puzzle there.
No, I love that. And yeah, the system serves you until it doesn't, I guess, is sort of the like, or, when you're in that position, because Catelyn obviously realizes sort of too late that the system is no longer working for her, like, or that the system is pressing her child into, the system begged that her child be assassinated. The system begged that her other child be basically held hostage in the capital. The system held that her son is pressed into fighting a civil war. Like, like it all falls apart quite quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, arguably that's the system not working, right? Because feudalism is supposed to be stable. It's supposed to be like the monarchy is stable, whatever. So arguably all the things that happen to Cat that are bad are from a coup and kind of the outcroppings of a coup, or caused by her arresting Tyrion. One of those two things. I'm not sure which one. It could be someone else's fault, or it could be all her fault only.
No, she's the only one. Certainly.
The only
Um,
other theme we started to talk about was the conflict of man and nature, and man
yes.
using nature for violence. So we kind of touched on this earlier. So just to kind of put a bow on that, we
Mhm.
have in just these 10 pages, just these 10 pages, beautiful examples of George using nature imagery and also like nature actions that are destructive, that have some kind of like human cause. So, well, theoretically human cause. So, like we talked about, there's the men in the gibbet cage being eaten by the crows. They're being consumed by a wild flock of wild animals. Uh, so, like that's man using nature against the other. Um, there's the drought. What's the other one? Hold on, I forget. Oh, there's the rerouting of the water. That was the one we didn't get to talk about.
Yeah.
So the rerouting of the water is extremely violent to do to somebody in a drought. You're taking all of the water from someone else's lands and causing them to have like all their crops die and things like that. Um, Also, dams are like really bad for the environment. So this is kind of both a man hurting man thing and also like a man hurting the environment thing.
Yeah.
Um, that was like the entire plot of Frozen 2. If anybody hasn't seen it, go watch it. The whole plot is that dams are bad, and they are. Uh, in case you haven't seen it yet. Um, and what I find interesting about that in this section is that we have these sort of two concrete examples, and then we have this sort of uh, unfair example where there's this implication that the people are blaming the monarchy for the overall drought, which it's not fair to blame the monarchy for a drought. They didn't cause a drought. This actually reminds me of in The Lion King when Scar takes over. There's a
Yep.
drought in the Pride Lands, and he gets blamed for it. And then Simba comes back and like it rains magically or whatever. And I'm like, Scar might not have been like a good leader, but he did not cause a drought in the Pride Lands.
That is actually kind of crazy. Like the idea that his reign was so terrible that he somehow caused it to not rain.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, I get it. It's like a metaphor. It's like the world was imbalanced because he killed his brother, etc. Yeah, I get it. I understand.
Mhm.
And The Lion King has some fantastic themes, and it's a great movie. Like, show
Of
it to your
course.
children. But it was unfair to blame Scar for the drought. It's unfair to blame the Targaryens for a drought here. It's not their fault. The seasons are just like this. Like droughts happen. Uh, it's not actually the greenhouse gases from the dragons. It's just, the seasons in Westeros are odd. So I'm curious to see how this goes forward. The reason I kind of clocked it was that in Martin's writing, he uses a lot of nature imagery. And I actually learned a lot
Yes.
more about this from reading, doing the close reading of Fire and Blood with Gretchen on our podcast, House of Fire and Blood. There's so frequently he relies on nature imagery. Uh, and so I've just started noticing it more when it kind of crops up. And I do think it's relevant to like a larger story because of the weirwood trees and the weirwood Reddit pages.
Yes.
Because there is this there is this like magic connection, this like nature magic connection between the people and the trees and the world, and so there's like this kind of connection thing happening um, that I think George is highlighting through the use of nature imagery and then actual like physical conflicts with nature and the land. Uh, so yeah, I think that's a thing, and we can see where that goes if it goes anywhere.
I am excited for that. I think the idea with the amount of nature involved in these stories, I mean, obviously, the first real scene of the main series is a dead stag and wolves. So
Yeah.
like there nature's always been a part of the story, and obviously there's
Mhm.
the whole warging aspect and all of these sort of connections to nature in the main story, and in this one it's quite clear that the conditions of the land and the weather and all of this stuff are um playing a vital role in the story, and people are wielding these like natural forces against each other, which is very interesting. Amidst a Bloodraven mention, who is sort of the person who is most connected, in the series with the magic side of these like this sort of natural magic, or this this wild magic, if you will, through the old gods, whatever that means.
Man, I can't wait until his second eye grows back and he gets to be a frumpy old grandpa in a tree.
Yeah.
Remember the Bat Show?
And he gets to just be like, all right, that's it from me. I don't know why I am here.
What do I have to learn? Everything. Okay.
All right, I'll have to take your word for it.
Just plug into the tree real quick. I'll transfer the files over to your USB.
I'll take you on exactly one ayahuasca trip, and then from there, you're on your own. I've taught you everything I can. So,
man, they did not read the books.
No, they didn't, and they definitely didn't read these books. Which I hope that the people who are making the show read these books.
Yes. Oh boy.
We'll see.
We're getting nervous.
I know it's getting too real, I think, is really the issue. Like for a long time this show was completely hypothetical. Yeah. Even though it had been announced and all that sort of stuff, it was just it wasn't real in my mind.
What makes me nervous about the show is that it was supposed to come out earlier and they pushed it. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just that like they had some because apparently like it's coming out now in January is word on the street. And I saw something that said season 3 of House of the Dragon is coming out in the summer next year, summer of 2026. So I don't know if they're doing like a, big hype Game of Thrones thing. Like if they're like it's the year of the dragon.
Year of the dragon. Yeah. Wait, is it actually
I don't know. That'd be kind of cool.
I would actually cut them some slack if it was actually a Year of the Dragon.
Let's find out. Let's ask the internet. What does the internet say? What's 2026? Because Chinese New Year's in what, February?
It's a good question. Maybe lunar. Oh, it's lunisolar. I did not know that was the thing. It's moon and sun.
It's moon and sun. Oh, well, moon is wife of sun. It is known. Oh, shoot. 2024 was the year of the dragon. The next one won't be until 2036.
See, never mind. All credit wiped
Gone.
From HBO. I was ready to forgive them. And I'm not anymore.
What animal year is
the goat? Or wait, sorry. The horse. But dragons are horses.
Yeah, so maybe they read the book so close. Maybe they did it. Maybe they did it.
Maybe they did it. It turns out. I guess the show is going to happen. I am still concerned, and amongst all of that, I'm just very pleased to be talking about these books again because they're just very good, and these opening 10 pages, which I did find our next. I think I found where our next passage is going to be.
Okay, so we'll pick
just
up
so
on
everybody.
132.
Yep. So we will go from 132, and we will go to. I think the right spot is going to be 143. Midway down the page where it says, "And don't go eating anything that Maester won't." Out of context, sounds very weird. So we'll go to midway down the page on 143 for those who have the paperback version. And don't go eating anything that Maester won't, which it's
a strange line out of context.
It is a very weird line out of context, and it is fun to keep saying out of context. Be like, where can people find you on the internet? If you'll be on the internet now.
I will hopefully be returning to the internet. I've made my grand re-entrance to the internet. TikTok is the best place. I am Block on TikTok. Um, and if anyone's interested, I finished posting the first 10 chapters to my zombie story on Substack. That link is through my TikTok.
A
So you
very
could
good
find
read.
it.
A very good read.
Have you kept up with it? It's okay if you haven't. It's
I
so
have.
annoying.
I have.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's been
Oh
a
God,
lot
I
of
have to
fun.
ask you questions.
I will answer them.
It's just a silly zombie story, and there are no themes or meanings
No,
to anything.
certainly
None.
not.
It's just a fun romp, and there's worms, and that's
that I can vouch for. There are lots of worms.
there are worms. But I posted the first 10 chapters to Substack. If, dear listener, you read it and you like it, and you want the subsequent chapters, you could just email me, and I will send them to you, because I'm almost done with chapter 11. So where I'm barely ahead. But those are the main places. And then my podcast with Gretchen will come back, I think, later this year. That's House of Fire and Blood. If you want to catch up on that, that's our close reading of the book Fire and Blood. We're at the very tail end of the Dance with Dragons right now, so there's plenty to catch up. And I think we just did the God's Eye episodes. That was the last thing. I have episodes in the backlog that need to be edited, but here I am. So where else can people find you besides here on YouTube?
Mostly TikTok, Damon Bachfire. I am talking about all things. I know we talked at the beginning about stuff I'm talking about. So Final Fantasy, there'll be more stuff in that vein. Obviously, I'm still doing random political parody stuff.
Those are great, yeah.
And I'll still be talking about Song of Ice and Fire. I made a video about the fact that this is not a hard pivot.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've still got plenty to say about the works of George R.R. Martin, as evidenced by this nearly 2-hour podcast.
2-hour podcast.
About 10 pages of one book that he wrote. So obviously, I'm not done talking about A Song of Ice and Fire and its related works, just to be very clear. So yeah, but that is the main spot. I am sort of having an existential crisis about what happens if the app is, suddenly owned by Oracle / the United States government, and it's basically just like a state surveillance / propaganda tool, and so I'm grappling with that. Maybe I'll just have to be on YouTube forever, and that'll just be, and I'll just sell my soul to Google. But at this point, I just, whoever's willing to house my content and also not make me an accessory to the current administration, like, I would just love that that platform to make itself available as soon as possible.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the good Clock Daddy app. I just love Clock Daddy so much, and I don't want Clock Daddy to go away. I just hope that they don't change it so much that it's like unusable, but also they might.
I'm starting to get like, my vibes off my algorithm are not so good. You ever get to a point with your algorithm where you're like, I wouldn't have normally seen this video. Like, I would have seen a stitch of this video. And now I'm seeing the original and I'm like, wait, where's the joke? Or where's the I'm like, I'm in the wrong neighborhood. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. like, I don't understand why I'm seeing this. And I do think that my algorithm is rage baiting me. Like, I think it's trying to get me to be upset. And I typically do not take the bait, but I was successfully baited by a video that was basically saying that Andor is not a leftist piece of media because actually the Empire is a metaphor for Biden's government and the censorship of the left. And I kept waiting for the joke and the fact that this is obviously not, this is obviously a farce or whatever. And I was like, oh, no, this is like the most clear example of like resistance of fascism like ever like put to screen, even more so than original Star Wars, which literally styled the Empire. George Lucas literally styled the Empire off of Nazis. Like that's that's like a real thing that he has openly talked about. And so anyways, I got to the end of that video and I was so upset that that someone had recorded and posted a video that said something that stupid that I put in the comments. And this will only make sense at this particular moment in time, September 25th, 2025. I said, I wish the rapture was real so that I didn't have to see this video. I typically am so able to like just say, just scroll. There's nothing, you're not going to add anything. And I was so compelled to comment. But it couldn't be anything that like even engaged in the discussion. It just had to be dismissive in the most like insane way that I thought. And for whatever reason that popped into my head. So I just said, I wish I had been raptured so I didn't have to do this.
S tier comment. Love it. That's fantastic. See, I'm like a troll hobbyist. So I'm like in comments constantly, like just trolling, and I love it.
I know. I wish I had like. It takes like a very special person to be able to do it. Because
I fight professionally, so I argue professionally. So
true.
Like arguing on the internet is like nothing because like no one's going to prison. It's fine. Like whatever. And like who cares?
Yeah.
Like I'm like yeah. Hey. I ended up on like a bad side of Book Talk by accident, and I was encountering these videos of people who were like, they were like basically making fun of the idea that like you should read from diverse authors. That was like the gist.
Yeah,
and
I saw some of this discussion. Yeah,
I'm like, it's extremely shallow. They're like, it's your regular DEI is bad, but like Book Talk version. It's like extremely shallow. Right. And one of the women made like an especially offensive video. And I was like,
I only read the whites.
Yeah, but basically she was trying to act like a snotty book talker telling you to read diversely, but her examples of diversely were like things that aren't like you should only read books by people with glasses, like stuff like that. Like it was stupid.
Right.
Though she did mix in their actual like identities like within the like stupidity, and I'm like, I don't understand like what point you think you're making, but I commented something like wow, you came onto the internet and said that with your whole chest. And she was like, she wrote back like a paragraph, and I was like, fucking got her. And I just kept trolling on the thread.
I got one. I got a big one. I'm reeling her in. Yeah. That's funny. I
love it. I love it when they get really invested and you just keep like poking it. And you're just like, I fucking got you.
Where it's like, you are actually like, your whole identity is wrapped up in this argument, and I am not invested in this at all.
I know you're an idiot,
right?
So
like
and I've accepted I'm never going to convince you of that. So instead, I'm just going to play with you, and I'm going to have a fun time.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I will say, with age, I have gotten better. In my younger days, I was easily sort of sent over the edge by trolls, and I would lay awake at night thinking about how dare they come to my Twitter and say such things. I have 2,000 followers. So yeah. Yes. Yeah. Don't they know who I am? That being said, so yeah. Well, internet culture segment. We are, yeah. So yeah, we'll be for those who are finding this episode for the first time, and maybe I'll like cut this and also put it towards the front and back here of if you're finding us for the first time right now, the good news is that all of our reread of The Hedge Knight is already up. So if you are like, hey, I missed the Hedge Knight episodes and I'm starting on the Sworn Sword, the good news is that all of those episodes are up and you can just binge your way right through that. The Hedge Knight's an easy read, so you can read right along with us. And the podcast is probably longer than the amount of time it will take you to read the book by like maybe like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it almost certainly is. Yeah.
So that's the good news. So you can go back and read the Hedge Knight and then meet us back here, and we'll have new episodes on a quite regular cadence from here on out. Not to get out ahead of ourselves too much for just recording one, but I would say like we will be back to a more normal cadence, and you'll get the episodes of the Sworn Sword here. And I think maybe we even, I don't know, we have like a chance where we probably would be rereading the Mystery Knight around the time the show comes out, which I think is a pretty cool, might line up nicely or whatever. Like, so anyways, we've got a lot of stuff going on, and you're not late to the party. That's a great thing about the show, is that it just is. So if you are finding the show for the first time, enjoy and go listen to the other episodes and meet us back here to read the Sworn Sword.
And if you love it enough that you want to be a guest, you can reach out, and we love having guests. So we had we had several episodes where we had 2 guests, but we talked to them for like hours and hours. So we split it up. we kept them hostage for a long time, and we're like, give us analysis. So if you're interested in being a guest, whether that's for like a particular episode, if there's like a section of the book you're interested in talking about, or if you want to do an episode on a particular topic, it can be related to Dunk and Egg, or it can be about the series as a whole. Really, honestly, we're open to anything. So if you're interested, just reach out and we can definitely arrange that. We love having friends.
As long as you're cool, then we're cool with you being on.
Yeah. We're cool. You could tell how cool we are.
Obviously.
Yeah, we're the coolest. Look at our dragons.
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A.
So thank you all for listening. And if you've made it this far, we love you very much. And we will see you next time on A Pot of the Seven Kingdoms.
All right. Bye, guys.